recognition of Anti-Boredom Month, which is the month of July, we are able to visit with Dr. Erin Westgate. She is a social psychologist here to tackle that boredom that we may all be experiencing right now. Thank you, Dr. Westgate, for joining me today.
Thanks so much for having me.
So first and foremost, how do we tackle boredom? What is boredom? Where does it come from?
Well, really, to tackle boredom, we have to know what it is. And boredom is a feeling that we have when we either can't do something because it's too hard or too easy, or we don't want to because it doesn't feel meaningful to us. So boredom's a signal that there's really no point to keeping on and doing what you're doing because you can't do it or it doesn't have any purpose.
Okay. And could that be related to laziness? Because I do feel at times that I'm bored, but it's my own fault because I just won't get up off the couch.
No, so people have what in psychology we call effort avoidance, which is basically the fancy term for being lazy. We try to not use our cognitive resources if we don't need to. And so lots of time there might be something that's really enjoyable or fun or interesting, but you know you're really gonna have to think about it. Like watching this really complicated documentary in a foreign language, it's like, oh, I don't want to watch those subtitles. And if you did, you'd really enjoy it. You'd find it interesting. It's just, it seems like a lot. And so we end up sort of falling back into that rut of, I know I'm guilty of this, pulling out your cell phone and just mindlessly swiping through, the next TikTok video or whatever it is.
Yes, exactly. It's just so easy. Okay. So, and you mentioned that we're kind of stuck at home. Many of us are choosing to avoid being out in crowds and things like that, or some of us are working from home. How can we get ourselves to try something new?
I think one thing that really helps is simply knowing that just because you don't feel like doing something doesn't mean it's not actually going to be enjoyable. We have this principle that we think that we need to be motivated first and then we do the thing and we'll enjoy it, but it's actually the other way around. Motivation comes second. So even when you don't feel like doing whatever it is, just getting off the couch and trying it, I always say give it 30 seconds. If you try it for 30 seconds and you still don't want to do it, you can stop. But just getting up and trying really helps. The other thing that can be really useful for people is just, this is so silly, but actually literally making a list of like really easy, meaningful things to do and much more sort of cognitively taxing things to do. And, if you're just really like, you just can't think about it, you're exhausted, you're dealing with a pandemic, pick something from your easy list that's still meaningful. So call up a friend, for instance. Social connection is something that's not really demanding on us mentally or cognitively, but it feels really good. And sometimes we don't use that as much as we could.
Absolutely. Especially now that we're sort of locked up in our homes. It's like so much effort to call, but once you do, you get all those great feelings, that connected feeling with the people that you love. So we definitely encourage our viewers to make that phone call or get on that FaceTime or that Zoom call to have that interactive experience. Now, is boredom always a bad thing?
No. If we were never bored, you would like literally just sit in a room and never do anything, right? Because you'd be totally content. I always like to say boredom isn't good or bad. It's how we react to it. You can be bored and react to it in really maladaptive ways.
Now, another thing, and I think you can relate, you're located in Florida, so you're by the water and you understand what it's like. But we have some pretty great resources here in the Coastal Bend. We have the Texas State Aquarium. We have the Lexington. We have the beaches. We have all kinds of sights to see, bird watching and everything in between, fishing. Now, a lot of people will do these things and feel that they checked it off their list and there's no sense in going back and doing it again. How can we keep these things that may seem redundant or easily accessible? How can we keep them exciting and let them be things that we want to revisit? And how can we get that fresh experience every time?
So I think there's actually 3 ways that you can do that. One is to simply know that this is a cognitive bias we all have. We all think that repeat experiences won't be as good, but it's wrong. Like if you ask people to like pick a bunch of candy bars, they'll pick a bunch of different kinds to have, but they're actually happier if you just pick your favorite. If you eat Hershey's over and over and over, we underestimate how much we love doing the things that we like. Enjoyable things are not less enjoyable just because you've already done them once. Part of that is the second strategy. Every experience is a new experience. This is why we can rewatch our favorite movies, we can reread our favorite books, and we can absolutely go back to our favorite places because the experience we have this time isn't going to be the same as the one that we had last time. So if you're at the aquarium, for instance, the animals are going to be doing different things. Like how many times have you been to a zoo and just simply not seen the lions because they're not even out? Experiences are always different. And number 3, another way we can do that is by bringing in social connection. So even if you're reluctant to go for yourself, if you take a friend with you, or even if you can't take a friend, there's evidence that if you're having a hard time sort of immersing yourself in an experience, you can actually make it better by using technology and taking photos of what you're doing, sending it to friends, and sort of looping in people virtually so that it's not just an experience you're having alone, but it's an experience that you're sharing with others. And we know that shared experiences are even more wonderful than the ones that we have by ourselves.
Absolutely. Well, I feel like we've got a lot of really useful information here. I know I'm determined to start that checklist and get myself on a routine, although I do have my daily coffee, but that's about all I've got in my routine right now. I think we're all inspired and have new ways to celebrate Anti-Boredom Month, which is the month of July. Is there anything, Doctor, that you'd like to leave our viewers with today?
Well, you know, the one thing I'll say is boredom's just information. Whatever we do with it, that's in our power, and you can absolutely claim it and have a very non-boring July.
I love it. Well, we want a non-boring 2020. Quarantine or not, we are going to make the best of it. We're going to get through this together. So thank you, Dr. Westgate,